because sometimes you think, oh, is it something that I'm imagining? So then imagine if you are having to go through to go and speak to health professionals. They've been told that it's all in their minds. Don't play with it, don't be dishonest. Hi, my name is Chico and I'm a Fibro Warrior. Today I'll be focusing on the symptoms of somebody like me who has fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. I decided today, or just a few minutes ago, whilst feeling energized and having my cuppa or cup of tea, that I'll hop on here to connect with you and just to share what it feels like to live with fibromyalgia and the symptoms that I go through on a daily basis. And the purpose of sharing this is for educational purposes, for anybody who may be going through a similar experience. I always look back and reflect on when I initially, or before I even got diagnosed, how beneficial it would have been for me to be connected with somebody who was going through a similar experience. It could have possibly made my journey much easier. So that's what motivates me to connect. Let me just start off by describing how I have been feeling today, and you may relate to this. So today has been a bit of a struggle. I feel like at this moment, although I may look well to somebody who doesn't know me, that's one of the challenges of living with fibromyalgia, is that I will always look well, we will always look well. And the challenge today has been brain fog, and also feeling as though somebody has hit me at the back of my head with a hammer. And I feel like I'm congested, coming down with the flu, but I know that it's not a flu, it's some chronic fatigue. So chronic fatigue and brain fog. So when that happens, most of my activities are limited, especially earlier on. There was a point where I just couldn't focus, I couldn't concentrate, and my headache was very persistent. At the moment, it's mild. But as it's persistent and the brain fog is there and the fatigue, it's very challenging to remain energized. And all I can do is just relax, zone out from too much sensory activity or activities that may induce sensory sensitivity. And I just let myself relax and ride through whatever I'm experiencing that day in order to come through to the other side. Sometimes it may take hours, it may take a day, or it may take days. It can be frustrating. That the challenge is, especially when I want to be productive and I want to do things that are creative or to contribute to something very meaningful, I'm not able to do that. I'm limited in that. So sometimes it can be frustrating, but it's been a huge learning curve where I've just had to accept what is and just go with the flow of things. Let me move on to like the symptoms, because I might just get carried away. All right. In terms of my body, I'll just describe what that feels like. In my whole body, I feel sensory activity. So there's not one day that I can say to you, ever since I started feeling the symptoms of fibromyalgia in the severe state, from that day on, I've never felt well. So I don't remember what it feels like to feel well. So in terms of my body, I feel sensory activity all throughout my body. I feel as though there's like nerves. It's a nerve activity. So the nerves in my body are activated by the level of activity that I undertake during the day, or no activity at all. It might just be that I might be sitting or lying in one position, then I'll start to feel something. The more activities that I do, the likelihood is that it does increase chronic pain. It does increase the sensitivity and the activity of the nerves. So it's like a sensory activity, which is to me most of the time a warning sign telling me that I need to slow down. Before, I wasn't very mindful of that. I just used to be caught up in doing whatever activity it was until to the point where I just I couldn't do it anymore. It was either I've experienced severe chronic pain, a flare-up, or I was just overly exhausted, so just going through up and down processes. So that's one of the experiences through my body. And then there's also general weakness. No matter how much activity I undertake, like walking, I might do low-paced activities. My body never feels as though it moves beyond this point of feeling fully energized and continues on that path of feeling like strength. Is usually a general weakness throughout the body, and sometimes that shows up just in terms of like walking, trying to push through the day. It can become a bit of a challenge no matter how much exercise I undertake. There are other things such as chronic fatigue, insomnia, cognitive challenges. Cognitive challenges are linked to like the chronic fatigue and insomnia and brain fog. So it's all to do with here. And that can also be triggered by the weather. If you asked me years ago, would I ever have a condition that would trigger sensitivity, that would trigger symptoms due to the weather, I would have said you're absolutely mad, you're crazy. But it does happen. So when it's cold, for instance, or even when it's cold and hot, just depending on the level, I tend to feel fatigued. It induces fatigue, especially the cold. Sensitivity to the cold, which wasn't the case before pre-diagnosis. It's can I say like severe sensitivity to the cold. It's to the point of it's irritating, where I have to make sure that I wear sufficient clothes, that are warm enough, blankets, wrap up, etc. And the heat can also induce fatigue. It can induce chronic pain. And then moving on to like digestive and bladder issues. So that can be due to, I've noticed like over the years since being diagnosed, I've become overly intolerant to certain foods, and also developed allergies as well. And that could be for various reasons. It could be due to fibromyalgia, or just due to somebody who's got like an autoimmune condition as well. So those are the things that I've just noticed. And there are measures that I take with all of these symptoms. Some I can't really control because they are beyond my control. I would say most of them I really can't control. But the one that hits me the most is, for instance, when the weather changes, which is crazy. When it's foggy, when it's misty and it's raining. Even before the weather changes, I start to feel something. And sometimes I might not gauge it, I might not connect and be fully attentive. But then something in my mind will say, oh, I'm not feeling well, because I know potentially the weather is going to change. And then I'll look outside and I'll be like, oh, that's the reason why I'm not feeling well. It's because it's foggy outside. So it does do something to my brain, and it creates brain fog, headaches, and exhaustion as well, which is severe chronic fatigue. And then leading on to memory issues. I experience like memory issues, and that is also due to I would say brain fog, fatigue. So in terms of memory issues, what that is for instance, I'm not able to multitask as I used to before. So for instance, I can't do two things at once in two different rooms. Unless if I set a timer and the timer goes off in one room, then it will remind me that there's an activity taking place in the other room. What tends to happen is, if I'm too busy, if I'm doing two things or three things at once in three different rooms, I'll just give you a scenario as an example, is that when I move to the next room, I will disconnect with the first room, or whatever I was doing. It feels as though my memory has been erased. Some people say, oh yeah, I can relate to this, but then I know myself very well, is that before I would be forgetful, but it wouldn't be to the point where it would feel like as though my memory has been wiped down. and it takes me a while to actually reconnect. And sometimes I would really think, what was I doing? But nothing comes to. So there are other measures that I've put in place as well, which I'll talk about more in the next video. So basically, in this video, all I wanted to share with you is just the daily struggles. So the thing is, as somebody living with fibromyalgia and people going through this experience and chronic fatigue and all the other symptoms that I've mentioned to you, the person will look well externally, will look happy externally, and you may not also notice that the struggle that's going on internally, there are numerous activities or symptoms that that person is going through that you may not be aware of. And it's also challenging because as the person who is living with that condition, you also struggle with like understanding what's happening pre-diagnosis or after the diagnosis, because sometimes you think, oh, you know, is it something that I'm imagining? So then imagine if you are having to go through to go and speak to health professionals who are then saying, oh, it might just be due to this X, Y, and Z, or it might be something I've never received. But I heard people mention that they've been told that it's all in their mind, you know. It's like it's as though somebody is making it up. So then the thing is that also makes it complex for the person who's going through the experience to be able to really articulate or to be able to express to other people the challenges that they're going through. Also, like the severity of the issues, you may not see them from my expression because most people are resilient through the experience, or probably you're seeing me at my best as well. So I think part of it is just also being aware and alert as well to somebody who might be going through that experience, and also understanding that they may not always be present and may need to take absence of leave, where they might be from work or from social activities. And what I've learned from my experience is to be unapologetic, to not feel guilty as I used to do before for having to say I can't do certain activities, because I've reached that level where I'm very mindful now of what I can and can't do in terms of my level of ability. Okay, so I will talk about that more in other videos to come. Thanks for connecting with me, and if anything that I've shared has resonated with you, or if you are going through additional symptoms, do feel free to share. I'd like to connect with you, and what's the saying? Sharing is loving, sharing is caring. You never know, you know, what you share, somebody else could connect, or it could help somebody else. So I'll connect with you next time. Ciao for me for now.